And a top focus this hour, President Donald Trump has said that weapons are already being shipped to Ukraine. The statement comes a day after Donald Trump announced plans to bolster Kyiv's stockpile by selling weapons to NATO allies, who would in turn send them to the war-torn country of Ukraine.
From Germany and then replaced by Germany, and in all cases, the United States gets paid back in full. So what's happening, as you know, is the European Union, if you look, mostly European Union stuff, but let's put it in the form of NATO. It's very similar. But NATO is going to pay us back for everything.
Speaking to reporters before departing the White House for an energy investment event in Pittsburgh, Donald Trump said that Ukraine should not target Moscow and that he had no plans to supply Kyiv with long-range missiles. Donald Trump's statement was in reaction to a report that claimed that the US president had encouraged his Ukrainian counterpart to hit the Russian capital. The Financial Times reported that Donald Trump brought up a potential counter-offensive with Zelensky and even asked him if he could hit Moscow and if Washington provided long-range missiles to Ukraine.
Should Zelensky target Moscow or deeper into Russia?
No, he shouldn't target Moscow.
Is that why you gave him more weapons, though?
No, we're not looking to do it.
Trump also defended his threat to Russia to impose steep tariffs. That is, if President Vladimir Putin does not act within 50 days to end the over 3-year-long war with Ukraine. He said that he does not believe that 50 days is very long, while adding that it could be sooner than that. The statements by Donald Trump come a day after he threatened to impose 100% tariffs on countries that buy Russian oil, natural gas and other products if there is not a peace deal in Russia's war with Ukraine within 50 days' time. In fact, it is the most substantive pressure he has placed on his Russian counterpart since returning to office nearly 6 months ago. When questioned if his tougher tone on Russia suggests that he's now on Ukraine's side in the conflict, Donald Trump cleared that he is on nobody's side when it comes to this war that's been raging for over 3 years.
I'm on nobody's side. I want to, you know what the side I'm on? Humanity's side. I want to stop the killing of thousands of people a week. I want to stop the killing. I want the killing to stop in the Ukraine-Russia war. That's the side I'm on.
And despite Trump claiming that he is on the side of humanity, he got praises from Republican senators for his tougher line on Russia. Addressing a press briefing alongside NATO chief Mark Rutte and his Democratic Senator John Shaheen at the U.S. Capitol, Republican Senator Tom Tillis cleared that this is not a partisan war.
This is not a partisan war. This is a war against a totalitarian who has designs on other nations if he succeeds in Ukraine, not to mention, or should we mention, Moldova, the Balkans, and disrupting the peace that is actually that's growing in that area.
And while hailing Donald Trump's tariff threats, Rutte even highlighted the importance of the weapons deal and added that Europe would find the money to ensure that Ukraine was in the best possible position in peace talks. Meanwhile, EU Foreign Affairs Chief Kaja Kallas also welcomed Donald Trump's announcement to send more weapons to Ukraine. However, added that the US should not share the burden. In fact, went on to say that it should be the US that should be sharing the burden with Ukraine.
We welcome President Trump's announcement to send more weapons to Ukraine, although we would like to see US to share the burden. America and Europe are working together, and if we are working together, this can put the pressure on Putin to negotiate seriously. The only way to get Putin to end this war is to force his hand.
And this while Russia has been stepping up its summer offensive campaign, claiming more ground in eastern Ukraine while pounding it with combined drone, artillery and even missile strikes. A Russian strike on Tuesday afternoon killed 3 people in eastern Ukraine. A 67-year-old and a 69-year-old were killed in Kupiansk district, while a 50-year-old was killed in the Velikopy-Sarivska region in the Ukraine. Elsewhere on the front line, Russian forces claimed 2 more villages in the Donetsk region, increasing the pace of their advance in the Ukrainian territory. And joining us on the broadcast is Ben Eris. He's founder and editor-in-chief of BNE Intelli News. And he's also been former Moscow bureau chief for the Daily Telegraph. Mr. Ben, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. First up, your assessment of the 50-day ultimatum that's been given by the US to Russia. Do you think that the 50-day timeline is enough for Russia to achieve significant territorial breakthrough that could force the Ukrainian forces into accepting Kremlin's demands?
Thanks for having me. So 50 days is quite a long time. Kallas from the EU, the foreign policy guru there, she said it's too long, that it's not necessary, and within 50 days, the Russian forces can make significant gains, but we're still talking, it's a fraction of the whole territory. Russia currently holds about 20%. There are reports that it's taken complete control of Lugansk, which is one of Putin's war aims. But of the 5 territories, 5 regions that they occupy, they only partially occupy all the other 4. Crimea, of course, they completely occupy, so the other 3. But I don't think 50 days is enough to make any significant changes. And at the end of the day, they still only hold a small part, a fifth of the whole territory. So it won't make that much difference. The open question is if Russia does capture complete control of Donbass plus Crimea, then Putin's nominal war goal is achieved, and would he be more willing then to sit down for talks? And I think the 50 days is also significant because basically what America's done is conceded there's going to be a summer campaign, and 50 days from now is September the 2nd, which is the start of the autumn when it rains, and then the whole battlefield turns into a giant mud field. And I think both sides at that point would be willing to actually sit down at the table and think about stopping, because fighting in the winter in Ukraine is not a very attractive prospect.
Yes, Mr. Ben, talking about the military aid by the US to Ukraine. Now, several European countries say that they are willing to buy US arms for Ukraine under a scheme that's been announced by President Donald Trump. However, many say that there are several arrangements that still need to be worked out. What are those specific arrangements? Because EU chief earlier said that the US should also share the burden of arming Ukraine.
Well, that's not going to happen. Trump has made it very clear that he's not going to provide any money. He said there in your report, he's not on anybody's side. And I think that's exactly his position. He just doesn't really care about this. And what he's done since he took over, he's made no new contributions, no new military packages, no sanctions at all. He's done nothing. And what he's just said is that if you want to arm Ukraine, then Europe has to pay for it. And Europe has stepped up and is going to pay for it, because he's also made it clear, if you don't pay, then you're not going to get any weapons. And the irony of it was behind, the issue at the moment for Ukraine is the skies are open and Russia's hitting it with like dozens of very powerful missiles every day. They need Patriots. That's the only system that can bring those missiles down. And that Ukraine's more or less run out of ammunition for those missiles. But ironically, the US has 60 batteries of these missiles in its reserve, and it could deliver them tomorrow. But what's actually happening, and what you're alluding to there, these conditions, is actually Europe doesn't have any spare Patriot missiles, and that it's being forced to buy them, and they're being ordered by American manufacturers. And that takes time. The Germans have 2 batteries of Patriots on order that are about to be delivered, but they're not going to arrive for months. And in the meantime, this whole summer campaign is going to go on with Ukraine's open skies. And so what everyone's desperately now trying to do is scratch together enough air defense ammo to try and protect Ukraine to get it through the summer. And it's going to be very difficult. There's going to be a lot of damage.
Yes, Mr. Ben, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast, and point taken, of course. For now, the clock is ticking both for Russia and Ukraine, and important to also add here that Donald Trump says that the US will not be supplying Ukraine with long-range missiles. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast.
My pleasure.